Hello, everyone. Back with part 8 of my recent watches. Before I start, I just want to give a shout out to Ellery Fiddler. I think he's new on YouTube. He's only done one video so far. I think he's a friend of Roy Barrett's from Blue Roy Movies. Yeah, he usually comments on the live streams of the movie Looms hosted by Ollie Loves Film. Go and give him a subscription. Um, yeah, I think his first video was like a video response to Roy's video of favorite films by genre, which is one of Roy's best videos. Sure, everybody knows Roy, but yeah, go and check him out if you don't know. Right, I'll get on with it so I don't ramble on too much. So yeah, first watch was the ABCs of Death. So I did say on the part 7 that I sort of got halfway through it also. So yeah, watch the rest of it. So it's 26 short films by 26 different directors. Um, from the directors of The House of the Devil, Hobo with a Shotgun, a Serbian film, Tokyo Gore Police, You're Next, Kill List, Hitman, Time Crimes, Metalocalypse, and many more. An alphabetical arsenal of destruction. This explosive film is comprised of 26 individual chapters on the topic of death, each helmed by a different director assigned to a specific letter of the alphabet, provocative, funny, and shocking in equal parts. This anthology is a definitive vision of modern horror diversity. Get ready to learn your ABCs. So yeah, it's an 18, contains strong violence, gore, sex, sexual violence, and hard drug use. 123 minutes, so I'm guessing each section's about 5 minutes. Some might be shorter, and then some might be, 10 minutes or so. Didn't work out exactly how long each section is. Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss as you probably expect from something like this. I don't think any of them were awful. They were all kind of experimental and interesting, but yeah, a few were a bit silly in that, and then some really stood out. Obviously, it's done on sort of letters, so I can't remember the name of every single one. But D for Dogfight was a highlight. Not so much the story in that, but the way it was all shot in sort of slow motion, black and white. Um, Young Buck, I think it was called, was quite disturbing, but the way it's shot as it moves along with this sort of electronic soundtrack pulsing in the background. And then there's a really creepy guy in it. About sort of spoiling it, there's a bit where he's licking sweat off of these like high school benches and stuff. Really sort of disturbing. Yeah, crazily enough, Ty West, Ben Wheatley, Adam Wingard, some of the more established directors who I expected the best segments from, kind of were a bit more disappointing. Whereas Xavier Gens, French director that did, I can see it up there, Frontiers, sort of French action horror film, quite a disturbing, gory one. Has one of the best sections of XL, which is a bit of a allegory on the way sort of overweight people, but women in general are treated, with a lot of good gore on that at the end. It's either Yoshiro, Noshiru Nishimura or Noboru Iguchi. Won't really tell you the plot because it's a spoiler, but yeah, a really disturbing, nasty kind of bit. Some animated bits in there with like not cartoons. One bit called Toilet, T for Toilet, with like a stop motion kind of plasticine, like if Wallace and Gromit went to hell. Some real good gore and things. Yeah, worth checking out if you're into your horror and stuff. But I will say, yeah, there are some quite nasty stuff going on in it, so be prepared. Next, kind of looks a bit like a 4K, but it is a Blu-ray, just like a black one on Studio Canal. Looks a bit like a Second Sight release. You Were Never Really Here, filmed by Lynn Ramsey, who did We Need to Talk About Kevin, which I've heard is really good but haven't watched, so that's quite sort of disturbing. I think she's done another film since. This was 2017, so 8 years old, 89 minutes. Quite surprised it's only a 15, because yeah, quite sort of brutal. Strong violence, injury detail, child abuse theme, and language. So yeah, luckily you don't see the child abuse going on, but basically Joaquin Phoenix's character plays a hitman. I think it's the mayor. His daughter gets kidnapped by this like child trafficking ring. So obviously he employs Joaquin Phoenix. I don't think it tells you his name on here. I don't know if it even does. Oh, Joe, he's called in the film, yeah. But employs him to not only go and get her back, but to hurt them, he basically says. So yeah, I'd say it's kind of like Lynn Ramsey, I think, is a British director. and it does say on the back Film 4, like funded, and lottery BFI Film and National Lottery funded. So I think it's a British production, but most of the actors, obviously Joaquin Phoenix, and that seem American. Um, Also stars Joaquin Phoenix, Judith Roberts, Ekaterina Samsonov, John Doman, Alex Manette, Dante Pereira Olsen, and Alessandro Nivola. Yeah, good soundtrack as well in it. Um, Kind of feels like a sort of American version of Kill List by Ben Wheatley. Very similar premise of, I mean, in that there's two hitmen, but basically hitmen are hired to go and it's like a sort of crime thriller, revenge sort of story. But yeah, obviously where the guys he's going after are low life, moralless scum, you're kind of not only rooting for him, but yeah, when they are getting brutalised and that, you don't feel bad for them. Really good acting by Joaquin Phoenix, one of the best roles I've seen him in. Some really tense moments. It's a bit where I wouldn't say autoerotic, but like a sort of asphyxiation thing where he puts like plastic bag over his face until he can barely breathe. And a bit I think I spoke about before when I either showed this on my top thriller films or when I did a video of spotlighting sort of underrated or maybe unknown films that I was trying to sort of bring to people's attention. I did say, yeah, there's a scene where he's sort of in the sauna with a hot towel on his face and he's sort of breathing through it, and these like gangster guys are in really tense. Yeah, really well shot, really enjoyable film. Yeah, I think it's the second time I've watched this. Did really enjoy it again. Yeah, quite brutal stuff. Without sort of spoiling it, there's a bit where he uses a hammer on the villains and stuff. I mean, it says here, taxi driver for a new century. Yeah, it says more along the lines of Kill List. Exhilarating, tense, and beautiful. Yeah, really good film. And like I say, a good acting all round. But Joaquin Phoenix, bit where basically he gets into like a fight and his shoulder's injured, and you can see it, and it's all sort of red and swollen and bruised, and he's kind of putting an ice pack on it, and you really do feel the pain. I mean, he is good in everything. I've seen him in Joaquin Phoenix, but yeah, that's one of his best roles, I think. Plays the sort of, I mean, I guess he's a villain, but you know, he's what's the word? I wouldn't say so much you identify with him, but yeah, sympathetic kind of villain where, you know, the work he's doing, not only is he going to save this girl, but yeah, obviously the guys he's brutalizing deserve it, so you're kind of rooting for him. Next on 4K from Arrow Video, you've got With No One Eye. So top 3 British films ever for me. This, Dead Man's Shoes and Cares, probably my favourite comedy ever, followed closely by Fish Called Wanda. I'll read. I'm sure everybody knows this one, but I'll read the synopsis in case. So, the finest cult film known to humanity, Camden Town, the arse end of the 60s. Two struggling unemployed actors decide some respite is in order, and so depart their miserable flat for a week in the Lake District. One that will involve rain, booze, mineral supplies, a randy bull, and an even randier Uncle Monty. Based on the real-life experiences of former actor-turned-writer-director Bruce Robinson, With No One Eye has become one of British cinema's most fondly remembered comedies, a cult film in the truest sense that has also become a classic, perfectly cast with career-defining roles for Richard E. Grant, Paul McGann, Richard Griffiths, and Rolf Brown, and crammed with irresistibly quotable dialogue. With No One Eye is a sheer delight, even on the umpteenth viewing. It's a 15, contains very strong language, drug use, strong sex references. From 1986, 107 minutes. Yeah, probably the most quotable film I've ever seen. A lot of them do come from Uncle Monty's character, Richard E. Griffiths. So you've got bit when he doesn't want to sort of prepare the lamb, and he says, as a youth, I used to weep in butcher shops. A bit when the cat sort of jumps up on the sofa and he comes in and says, what is it, that brutish oath has destroyed my day. What's it? Danny, this kind of drug dealer guy, challenging With No One Eye, and With No One Eye says I could take more drugs than he does. And Paul McGann's character, the titular I, says he's had more drugs than you have hot dinners. And then Danny says, if I dosed you, you'd think a brain tumour was a birthday present. Yeah, Richard E. Grant, apparently never drunk in this, so plays a brilliant drunk. His eyes are all watery, he's all sort of pale, he's got like a stammering voice, you really believe he's drunk and on sort of substances. Paul McGann, not only good as an actor in this, but does like the voiceover. I think, to my knowledge, not sure how long, but yeah, years after this, he did actually do voiceovers and narration on a lot of programs. So yeah, I remember seeing some what do you call them, uh, wildlife kind of programs that he narrated. And yeah, other than Attenborough, probably one of my favourite sort of voiceover kind of guys. Um, yeah, just so many quotes in there. It's funny. I mean, it is kind of poignant and bleak. Really good soundtrack with All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. Really good little sort of tune that plays in the background. Trying to think of the I mean, like I say, there's loads of good quotables, so it's hard for me to narrow them all down. One of my favourite bits when they run up to the farmer in his tractor and he says, "You the farmer? We've come on holiday by mistake." And they go to like Penrith on like holiday. But yeah, brilliant film. If you haven't seen it, get and watch it. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Next, I did sort of show this one on recent pickups and said I was a bit dubious if it would be good. Is Drugstore Cowboy by Gus Van Sant. So yeah, main reason I've got Elephant by him on DVD, story about the Columbine shooting, which I wasn't a massive fan of. And then he did the shot-for-shot remake with Vince Vaughn of Psycho, which I haven't actually seen, but I just think, what's the point of doing that? But yeah, this is really impressive. Without underselling it, it kind of does feel a bit like Requiem for a Dream light, but there's a bit more to it than that. I'll read you the synopsis. Gus Van Sant's dreamy, drifty, deadpan second feature. Don't know what his first feature was. Let me know in the comments if you know, because I'll be interested to see that. An addiction drama based on James Fogle's autobiographical novel captures the zonk-tank textures and almost surreal absurdity of a life lived fix to fix. Swinging between dope-fueled disconnection and edgy paranoia, Matt Dillon, he is quite young in this, plays the leader of a ragtag crew, also featuring Kelly Lynch, Heather Graham, that might be one of her first roles, only looks like early 20s, 22 or so, and James LaGrosse, that robs pharmacies for pills, coasting across the 1970s Pacific Northwest while trying to outrun sobriety and fate, with a brilliant support in turn from counterculture high priest William S. Burroughs, that wrote the book of Naked Lunch, adapted by David Cronenberg. I wrongly said David Lynch by accident in the last video. Forgive me. Where was I? And a lyrical feeling for the streetscapes of Van Sant's hometown of Portland, Oregon. Drugstore Cowboy cemented the director's status as a preeminent poet of outside the hood. From 1989, it does feel like a 90s film. Don't feel as old as 1989. 102 minutes, 15 drug misuse, strong language. Yeah, so obviously when they sort of steal the pills, they kind of melt them down on a spoon, inject them, and you do see them injected into their vein and things. Really good performances, but yeah, especially by Matthew McConaughey. It's not as sort of depressing and disturbing / harrowing as Requiem for a Dream, but yeah, that's a film I'd sort of say it's most closely resembles. Does have a lot of surreal bits where there's all pills, like blue pills falling on the screen and things. Obviously, this is a Criterion version, Blu-ray. You can get the 4K, which comes with the Blu-ray and 4K, but I didn't want to pay £30 for a film I wasn't sure on. But yeah, I was quite impressed by that. It was a good one. Next up, you've got a DVD of another British film, League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse. The League of Gentlemen's Apocalypse. Sure, this won't be everybody's cup of tea, but obviously if you haven't seen the series of League of Gentlemen, then you probably, well, I guess you could still get something out of this. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the series. I know Sammy G from Sammy's World of Cinema, Sammy G's World of Cinema is a big fan of it. I think this is long out of print now and hard to find. It's 2005, so 20 years old, 1 hour 27 minutes. It's a 15. Contains strong language, sex references, and comic violence. So yeah, the original was kind of like a really dark, bleak sitcom, done by Mark Gatiss, Reece Shearsmith, and Steve Pemberton. And they play all like different characters, and they're all kind of creepy. Yeah, it's done like a film version of it. I would say a lot of the best characters weren't really in this. They did sort of say that humans wouldn't let them get close to them because they were like too ugly. So they went with like Jeff Tips and the butcher Hilary Briss. Yeah, it is funny. You can see a lot of horror references in it, without spoiling it. As a bit kind of near the end with like stop motion, which felt very Ray Harryhausen. I think there's references to The Shining and stuff. I'll read you the synopsis. Multi-award-winning comedians, the League of Gentlemen, bring their hilarious and monstrous creations to the big screen. Everyone's favourite town, Royston Vasey, is facing disaster, and the only way to save it is for the locals to travel to a new and exciting world, ours. From present-day Soho to the fictional film world of 17th century Britain, the residents must overcome countless bizarre obstacles in their bid to return Royston Vasey to safety. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's disappointing, but yeah, it's not on the level of the series. And like I say, there's a lot of characters and stuff, whether for budgetary constraints or what, they don't use. But yeah, it's a fun one. And if you are a fan of the series, A League of Gentlemen, then I recommend this. Obviously, the people behind this also did Psychoville and Inside Number 9, which are also really good. Yeah, I haven't checked on CEX, how much that's worth, but I know it is out of print and hard to find nowadays. Quite long out of print, I think. And then, final watch of the week on Blu-ray, as a follow-up to the ABCs of Death, I watched the ABCs of Death Part 2. I only watched this one last night, so the Blu-ray disc is still in the player, or should I say the PS5. Every bit as insane as the first film. The most anticipated horror anthology sequel in the world today, The ABCs of Death 2 is a showcase of worldwide gore cinema, featuring the cream of the world genre boffin crop, strutting their glorious stomach-churning stuff. Comprised of 26 individual chapters, each segment is held by a different director assigned to a letter of the alphabet. The directors were then given free rein in choosing a word to create a story involving death. Provocative, shocking, funny, and at times confronting, ABCs of Death 2 is a veritable smorgasbord of depravity that you don't dare miss. 18, strong, bloody violence, gore, nudity, very strong language. Running time of it says 86 minutes. When I actually watched it, it was over 2 hours, but I think at the end it shows like all the cast and crew to each segment. So yeah, I guess that takes like 10-20 minutes. See, I'll read a few of the directors out, not all of them, because obviously there's 26, but Julian Barratt from The Mighty Boosh, she's one of my favourite British writers and actors, and yeah, Mighty Boosh, kind of weird, surreal comedy from the 2000s, but I personally love it. Julia Maury and Alexandre Bustillo, heard of them before. I think they do one of the sort of messed up French films, but yeah, that section's really quite disturbing and messed up. Larry Fessenden. See if I can find any more. Chris Nash, Vincenzo Natali, Jen and Sylvia Soska, the Soska sisters that did Dead Hooker in a Trunk, American Mary, and the more recent remake of Rabid by David Cronenberg, starring, I can't remember her name, but used to play Supergirl. I had a massive crush on when I was younger. Yeah, well, the first one has a lot more world cinema. A lot of more sort of Japanese and Asian, even some French and British films and things. This has a lot more English language, not as many animated parts, maybe 2, but they are good. But yeah, some really shocking bits. I kind of expected it to be disappointing. I'm not saying it's better than the first part, but yeah, I did enjoy it and was quite sort of surprised how good some of the segments were. Quite a lot of standout segments. Again, it doesn't really tell me what the letters are. There's one bit sort of filmed in black and white, really surreal. I don't know if you can see that in that corner with these 3 guys. That was kind of like a dark comedy, but they all had big noses and weird prosthetics, and the way it was acted, yeah, I found that quite disturbing and unsettling. Some real good gore. There's this bit with this guy who's like a kind of zombie that's tearing people up in graphic detail. It does show me some of the titles actually. Some of them were kind of a bit throwaway and sort of seemed a bit pointless, but yeah, hard to say really which is better, but kind of on a par, so I was quite surprised. I thought it'd be a bit of a sort of letdown after the first part, but yeah, I did enjoy that one. Right, so that's everything on the recent watches. Yeah, thinking maybe, obviously Roy sort of said people can do a video response to his favourite films by genre. Thinking of doing it, but I think it's going to be hard to narrow it down. Also with westerns and war and stuff, I haven't really seen too many, so won't really be too informed choice on those. But yeah, maybe if I get time, I'll do one of those. But yeah, great video idea by Roy. trying to think. Probably won't be getting any more pickups for a little while till I get paid. We'll get back from the meet up in Birmingham, basically. Yeah, I guess in a week or so, maybe I'll do another recent watches, or once I've watched like enough films to make it worthwhile. Right, haven't gone on too long, so quite glad with that. Right, thank you everybody for watching. Bye.